All right, we've made it to the last session of day one. Where are your energy levels, everyone? Okay, he's clearly awake. I can see he's had I was going to say he had 5 glasses of coffee, but he's got something else in his hand, so I won't mention that because we're live streaming. But yes, we are here for the last session of the day, and today we are going to talk a little bit about art and design collaboration. I will be introducing Housemarque, and they are the same people who made Returnal. They are a Sony first-party studio, and this is a behind-the-scenes look at how art and design stayed aligned on SAROS. Now, 2 departments, both with strong visions and making one game. I've worked as a producer, so I know how difficult it can sometimes be to get 2 disciplines to work alongside each other, especially when they both want what's best for their discipline. But the title of this talk is Lessons from Carcosa, and from Housemarque, please welcome Brand Director, Art Director, and the Associate Design Director, Mikael Haveri, Simone Silvestri, and Mitja Roskaric.
Thank you. I'll start it off here. Welcome everybody. Again, the team here with me today, Mitja and Simone. We are Housemarque, as we'll see once we get the slides going here. Housemarque has the benefit of being the oldest living Finnish game developer. And that it comes with a heavy burden of trying to keep up with times, re-innovating and trying to make sure that your company culture and DNA stays relevant. Now, we have learning lessons every day when we work in Helsinki, and hopefully we can share some of those here today with you guys. But before we get into the art and design side of it, from a brand perspective, I'd like to give you a brief run into what the company is and what's the stuff that we make. What's there behind the magic? Now, I was born when this started, but I was definitely on the little, enthusiastic gamer side of things when the early Housemarque games started appearing in the Finnish Pelit and Mikrobitti magazines, and reading through them and seeing the first advertisements and articles for these games. And these are not even the first games that quote-unquote Housemarque made, because Terramarque made Elfmania, and then Bloodhouse made the earlier Stardust game that was before the 1996 version that you see here. And those 2 companies formed in 1993 in Helsinki, then birthed this first fusion of a company called Housemarque. And I have to note, it is 2 months prior to Remedy officially, so therefore we are 2 months older on the books. But this long line of things that you see here, briefly looking at it, the earlier ones, Super Stardust 96, very much an action game in the vein of Asteroids. Alien Incident is more of a Day of the Tentacle take, a point-and-click adventure. The Reap is an isometric, sort of a scrolling shoot-'em-up. And then you have 2 snowboarding games, which actually, when I was originally a fan of Housemarque, the company was known as the snowboarding studio, and that was pretty much it. And during those days, even the media was speculating, I wonder if Housemarque will ever make anything else than snowboarding games. Well, as you may see here, there was some twists and turns in the road. Super Stardust HD really cemented our working collaboration with Sony PlayStation and XDev, and that is the kind of combination of factors that really bears fruit now with the later developments. But most of the titles you see here, Super Stardust, Portable Dead Nation, Resogun, Alienation, Matterfall, and Returnal, all of these were done with Sony PlayStation, and even Nex Machina was funded by them, as you can see in the infamous Name of the Game documentary movie. But during the 2017 summer, Housemarque went through some well, we did publish 2 games, as you can see there, but we also realized that the extent of the experiences that we were creating was not enough. And we had to look into the mirror and really see, who are we? What are we doing? What do these titles stand for? We look back in our catalog, and one of the things that really came out was gameplay. And I think it was never defined to that extent back in those days, what gameplay meant to us. But then we started to realize that trying to make these arcade-type games is dead for us. And in that sense, we published a piece called Arcade is Dead, because we wanted to move on. We wanted to really, really try to see what we could do with some of those core pillars still at the heart of it. And that's what birthed Returnal. And we have the game director of Returnal actually here. You can say hi to Harry Kruger after the show or at the bars, but it really took us to another level. It allowed Housemarque to really show our full potential as a developer and to grow into the boots that we were very much born to be in. But it was all about gameplay first. Every single iteration, prototype, anything you do at Housemarque starts from the factors that if you have a prototype, a demo, an idea, you need to play it, and it needs to be fun, and the gameplay needs to flow, and from there you can start to see what comes to fruition in terms of things that really serve the gameplay. And this gameplay-first mentality, I think, is really what got us to the point that we're in right now, and it's the reason that our games look, feel, and sound very different from maybe other games. It's also very different, and that's sometimes hard to communicate. So again, we're here learning with the audience about what our games can be, but at the core of it, always gameplay first. Now from Returnal, we had, currently 5 years has passed since the launch of Returnal, so in hindsight we can say we have a cult classic at our hands. But again, these are all niche games. We're trying to reinvent bullet hell, which is by definition an obsolete genre in the, or at least compared to what it was in the heyday. But we took all those learnings and we pushed them into the SAROS that you might have seen published about 3 weeks ago. Has it been so far already? But this really gave us the latest ground to stand on and really test our systems. And so far, the feedback has been excellent. Again, technical excellence, VFX, mystery, and depth. This genre called bullet ballet that was coined here by Harry. And these things really add up to something that feels very Housemarque. Now, again, it's not always the easiest to communicate how that plays, but you have to really try it for yourself. About a year ago, we started teasing the world of Carcosa and the mysteries that it would have for you. Our protagonist, Arjun Devraj, waking up on the shore. All of this filled with hidden meanings, but also a subtle twist that there's always a Housemarque experience there. We wanted to even show the bullets so people know that it's a challenging game. We're not trying to take away the challenge. We're trying to broaden the appeal of the challenge. How can many people that maybe are afraid to head into the void and to look the challenge in the face, how can they take that leap? And I think SAROS has been really wonderful at catering to a much wider audience as well. To get there, we needed to add systems. Systems like permanent progression, which was fairly limited in Returnal, got a much more of a main stage into how we talked about the game and how we wanted to really let the audiences in on how the experience has expanded from its predecessor. And that mysterious, monstrous, and moving experience, of course, comes with the AAA narrative and cinematics and everything that you come to expect from a Sony PlayStation first-party studio. Now, if you take those things and you add them, there's a sum of the parts that really doesn't always make sense at first, but bullet ballet with perma-progression, evolving, shape-shifting world, hunting and layered narrative, and technical excellence. What is at the crux of all that? What is the pinnacle? Well, we always kind of knew what it was meant to be, but with this game we found out that it's all about the flow state. How do you get to the flow state? What is the flow state? Maybe some of you have experienced the flow state firsthand, but that exactly is a Housemarque pinnacle that most, if not all of our games are trying to get a player to a different mind state where they lose this consciousness of what they're actually doing and their brain interacts directly with the DualSense controller and all the inputs kind of just get lost. This is a concept, of course, that was coined a while back, and it can mean different things in different contexts. But keep this in mind, because that's what gameplay first enables you to do, is to get into this sort of mind-bending state where the gameplay, you become a part of the gameplay when done right. Now, what is SAROS from Returnal? What makes it different? What allows for that? I kind of alluded to those points already, but in the end, we wanted to preserve that Housemarque action that was really brought to this new level of a spectacle with Returnal. And there's a lot of these things that we felt that worked, that we wanted to take those forward. We wanted to improve gameplay, a central pillar as it is. It can always be better, and it should be. These things are not meant to be rested upon. These are things that really need that iterative mindset of going forward, just one more tier ahead. And tighter sessions as well. The autosave system, I won't comment on that because I kind of liked it the first game that didn't have it, but we did add it later on. But then again, adding things, adding to the roster of how you can experience that. If you're not the most hardcore fan of starting the game with zero progression from the beginning after each run, then now you had a little bit of a progression, and our slogan, "Come Back Stronger," really gave you that sensibility of earning your way up the ranks as well. There's a very central theme of the eclipse, which you see in some of Simone's art concepts just here in a minute, and of course a lot of different cool things that you come to expect. Now, we'll give you a little brief introduction with the launch trailer.
Art is the strongest of tides from the shore. Lost Carcosa. Ruled by the eclipse. I search for you and find only death. But I always come back stronger. Every time, one step closer to answers, to more power.
This is a newly established colony.
All that matters is finding you.
There's no way to get home, and you can just...
He's returned to us. The sun is forever. And so am I.
There you go. So I wanted to leave you a little brief on what Housemarque has meant for others as well. If you know this fellow over here with the mask, Yoko Taro, he's been a big influence on a lot of industry, of course, but there was a nice quote that he had about us back in 2017. A crazy developer who throws in the side-scrolling shooter on the PS4 launch, Resogun, and a monster born in Finland. That is Housemarque Senpai. And we're proud to try to kind of take a lot of these art forms that have been birthed, Bullet Hell, for example, Danmaku in Japan, and to put those on a pedestal in the AAA space now. And hopefully Yoko Taro is also keeping an eye on us. I'd love to hear what you think about SAROS. He hasn't publicly at least stated anything yet. But again, this is something that invigorates us when the industry sees us for who we are and what we're trying to do. And yeah, I'll give it to the guys from here on out to tell you more about what they worked on in SAROS.
Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about the world of Carcosa, which has been our magnus opus for the last 5 years, mine in the last 2 years. I'll spend just a minute about me first. I'm Simone Silvestri. I'm the art director at Housemarque. I was born in Rome, Italy. This is relevant for later, trust me. I started as a starving artist. Whoever says that's good for art has never starved, so don't listen to them. I then founded and closed a studio in 9 months. That must be some sort of record in Rome, at least. Also, then I went to an indie studio where I was the only artist in the studio, which meant I had to do everything: environment, lighting, character, props, optimization, sometimes level design. It was a fun experience in the most excruciating way. And after that, I got the incredible luck of flying to Finland for a job interview at Remedy, where I was an environment art dude. And I worked on a Doom project called Crossfire, where I learned a lot. And then after that, I learned on another project that went on for 3 years and a half. And after that, it got cut. So when you get to that point of your career, you start asking yourself a few questions. Like, is this my job? Am I meant to be in the industry? Is this the only thing that I can achieve? And you kind of start listening to some of the voices that want you to give up. But luckily, I got the honor, and again, extreme luck, of finally getting into a studio where I could exercise more of what I can give and more of who I am, which is the art director job that I have at Housemarque. And it's kind of funny because I don't know how to draw or concept, so that's not my medium. And so most of what I do on my day-to-day is to point at things and say things. And this is a drawing from my associate art director, which is also what we're going to do today. So it's my favorite thing. I hope you're going to enjoy it. But if there's one takeaway from my career is never give up. You will do it eventually. Just don't stop. Now, this is actually, the first slides are actually the very first slides that I've ever shown to Housemarque. This was 2 months on the job. When I arrived, we needed to get our stuff together really fast and hustle because we were getting ready for the full production. And so you get the pleasure of seeing the quality of the presentation that I've given them. I thought it was fun to just put it here with no filter. But the first thing that I told them is that art direction is a team effort. I'm not going to go into a room with just my idea and have it executed to the pixel perfection. That's not what I'm interested into. What I'm interested into is cooperation, is to find the ideas together with the team and then let them express their voice and then harmonize our collective voice and experience into a vision that we can all own, that we can all execute together. This is how we started, and then we did some whiteboards, and we started looking at the pillars and more whiteboards, and I decided that, okay, the classical style will return. And my team was not super happy. But we still got together and worked more on it, and we actually got to our art pillars, which they stayed the same throughout the project, not because we didn't want to change them, because we didn't need to change them. And this was a work that we did together. So for us, the theme, so the subject of what we're meant to describe artistically, needed to be cosmic horror. That's kind of our bread and butter. And it's a very, very malleable theme that can allow for a lot of gameplay to happen in a grounded world. And we wanted flawed characters. We wanted a story of someone that is hunted by inner demons, that is on a journey of transformation. And we knew that it was going to be a story about ascension. So to rise to a higher power, to have this power journey. So our theme became the twisted enlightenment. The idea that you are being enlightened and then distorted by that enlightenment that you have reached. And we wanted to express this throughout the entire artistic vision. We also look at the style. So what is the form that we're going to explore this theme with? And we knew that, being a Housemarque game, it's going to have bullets. Now that's an amazing challenge as an art director. How do you create clarity in motion? How do you deal with the amount of noise that is on the screen and make poetry out of the gameplay together with the game designers? That's an amazing conversation and collaboration that happens day to day at Housemarque. But we wanted to build a realistic canvas. And when I mean canvas, it means that it needs to be clean. You cannot put too much detail on the screen because the detail is going to come from the gameplay. I will provide a canvas, and you, the players, will be the painters with our violence. And that violence is usually very bright. We'll get to it in a minute. But the other thing that we want to do is to always find what is the maximum impact of the concept that we're currently doing. Usually we try a lot of things and they land sort of in between this spectrum, between minimal and extreme. And the middle of the spectrum is something that we call the no man's land of blend. So we either going to go minimal or we're going to go extreme, or we're going to combine a version of these two things. But if you cannot find it, always try the most extreme version of the thing that you're trying to do. And that's usually how we get to our cool stuff. But also, we needed to start from realism. We needed something grounded because we know that things get very surreal in our world, and we have an escalation in the form of an eclipse. So you cannot go extreme 100% of the time. You can go 90% and then go to 100% when you put on the eclipse. My associate concept artist says that we can go to 120%, but I don't think his math is correct. So we called our style the radical escalation. Always try to find ways to do more with the picture that you currently have. And then the tone. What is the attitude of the form that we are using to describe the theme? We knew that it was going to be a serious and mature story, and we wanted to respect that theme. We wanted to take that execution seriously. We need to believe in the struggle that Arjun goes through in order to paint it on the screen. And then we knew that we had bright violence. Gold is the color of power and the color of corruption. Our neon arcade bullets are bright. So we knew we had to describe this with a very different palette from Returnal because of some of the themes that we wanted to explore, like obsession. Yellow is the color of obsession. And also, just like other games that Housemarque does, we knew we wanted to describe a haunting mystery. You have to be enticed to go on this journey, but we're not going to give you all the answers. You have to come up with the answers at some point. You have to explore. You have to go through all the layers of depth that the gameplay offers, that the level design offers, that the story offers, that the art can offer you through environmental storytelling. So we coined our tone as violent beauty. And this is something that really drove a lot of the shape language, especially in our architecture. But this is these three pillars that we had, and then we attached to it the two pillars that are mostly made for Housemarque, which is the technical excellence and the spectacular VFX and audiovisual presentation. And this stayed as it is from this moment in which we coined them to the end of the project. But let's get into the present. That was the past. And in the present, we're going to talk about building Carcosa. So how do we describe a journey into a hungry planet? The cult of the eclipse. We have to create an alien civilization. That's cool. How do we do that? And then how do we define Soltari, which is the company that sends you to this planet? It's a corporation in the business of everything. It's greed on a cosmic scale. How do you design for that? And then how do you design Arjun? Let's start from the world. Again, when you get given, as an art director, a blank page that says alien planet, you can do anything, and that's awesome. And it's also terrifying, because there are 99 wrong answers and only one that is right, and you have to work to get there. And what we knew was that we needed to have something grounded, because our gameplay is not grounded. It's crazy, and it's awesome, and it's bright, and it's in your face. So if the world is also screaming at you, then now you have these two competing forces. So we wanted to ground down the world and then have accents of extreme expression within that world. And again, we have a cosmic force in the eclipse. So you cannot go all the way right away. You have to wait and then go extreme once you put the eclipse on and really transform the planet. We had this idea that the eclipse would sing to the planet and the planet would sing back to the eclipse, so the levels would come alive. You are in the ancient depths and the machines are off and you're walking through the bones of this mining operation, and then they come alive, they become active, and your platforming changes. So a lot of this had to be also described in a very alien and weird way. And we started defining some of these parts of the world as shaped by madness. What is madness? What is our version of madness? There's so many possible versions. I mean, all of you are interested in games, so all of you have a bit of madness in you. And I think that for us, it was the obsession. It was the repetition. And as I said, even here, every level was planned to escalate constantly. Then, of course, comes the alien civilization, the autochthon people of Carcosa that we wanted to describe with a very alien language. But again, we had really fast-paced gameplay. So the first thing that I said was, let's go neoclassical. It's a comfort zone for me. I'm from Rome. See, it was relevant. It has this very quiet detail on the surfaces and this massive epic scale, which gives space to the level design and makes the arenas of the game breathe. And also, it has arches. Arches are cool, because when you go under arches, you feel fast. It's almost like a time trial. So if you treat the player as a Formula One car, which our player is almost at that speed, if you go under all these arches, you will feel good about progressing through the world. And our journey is a journey of forward momentum. So that's why I wanted this style. However, it was too soft. It was too gentle. It was too safe. There's so many round shapes in the neoclassical language. So we did a crisis. We added Italian futurism to neoclassical style, which is not easy, because Italian futurism is born in 1920s as a reaction to neoclassical. It's the opposite of it, where one wants rigidity, the other one wants dynamics. And it's all about this really, really fast and obsessively rhythmic lines. And when I told the team, hey, we're going to merge these two things, they were like, are you sure, man? We don't have a lot of time. But they gave me the benefit of the doubt, and then they gave me all of their passion. And together, as a team, we found that expression. And once we found it in one level of one biome, we decided, hey, this is it. We're going to scale it to the rest of the game. And we're going to start adding accents, all the statues that you see, all the expression. And then we're going to escalate this architecture throughout the game, because the narrative escalates because the gameplay escalates. So the art has to do the same. We have to tell a visual story that you can follow just by looking around. And then, of course, through that, we also found our enemies. And yes, they are violent representation of human mix-ups of arms and heads, and they are tearing themselves apart. But in that expression, they are still beautiful. They are golden clad, and their skin has kintsugi on them, the art of repairing things with gold. And that's how we kept driving the violent beauty throughout the entire game. When it comes to Soltari, we kind of had to do the opposite of that. It was like, okay, let's strip away the entire identity of violent beauty and let's bring it into a hard sci-fi, industrialized design. And it's funny because when I arrived, this beautiful shotgun was already done. And when I looked at it, I was like, that's Soltari. We're going to start from one shotgun and from this describe the entire company that made it. Because the language was already perfect in its form. So from this, we even designed the voice of Soltari, which is this NPC called Primary, also my favorite NPC, that is in the hub. You go talk to it to upgrade yourself. And he is the voice of Soltari. So he's the company personified, and that's why it looks like a coffin. But all of the design comes from the shotgun. Sometimes you have the answer in a small element and you can scale it up to an entire universe. And there it is, and it's home. Lastly, usually when you design a costume for an action hero on a first-party game, you're gonna do between 1,000 and 10,000 sketches and then cry a little and then try again. I think this was done basically in 5 sketches. This was from Ville Kinnunen, the previous art director. And when I saw these, I was like, yeah, I think we have what we need here. We knew we had to describe an unstoppable force that goes through Carcosa with sheer will. And so the forms were inspired from contact sport, riot gear, and like what's a space sheriff, and try to merge all these things together into something that is iconic and has an identity that is as iconic as the 80s sci-fi movies that we still today remember. We also tried some anime stuff. We really like anime and comics. So we tried to also put a helmet and a mask, but at some point it became clear, I don't remember who, but someone watched Midnight Mass and we saw Rahul and it was applied to the concept. And Rahul Kohli became the face of our character before we even started speaking to Rahul Kohli. He was just Arjun. It was perfect. So when we actually got to hire him, that was awesome, because otherwise we would have redone this. And then lastly, we translated it into the game engine and we gave it the final touches of personality. So if you bought the game, this is the unstoppable force that you've been playing as. If you haven't, you should. It's an amazing game. Thank you.
Hey everyone. I'm Mitja, and I'll take some time to talk about level design at Housemarque. But before I dive in, I'd like to provide some context. So, hey, I've been at Housemarque for 3.5 years, started as a lead level designer, and about a year ago became an associate design director with focus on level design. Been in the industry since 2008 and worked at a couple of studios. You might recognize some of these in the Nordics, very, very cool studios. But by being around, traveling the Nordics, I was able to kind of get an insight into different approaches to game development, different engines, and different approaches to level design. And before I joined Housemarque, I was feeling kind of drained with the industry, so I was looking for something new. arrived at Housemarque, and I can say I found what I was looking for. Also, when it comes to level design itself, what is level design? Here is one of the most creative designers I had the pleasure to work with demonstrating. So essentially, on a daily basis, it's about manipulating the geometry and entities to shape an experience. And at Housemarque, what kind of experience are we shaping? So Mikael and Simone already talked about this. We are a gameplay-first company. The gameplay is driving the experience we are creating, and of course, other areas matter a lot. The visual direction, the narrative, the audio, everything is important for a AAA product, but gameplay drives the experience. Also, Housemarque has a very long history, and the arcade sensibilities are something that are ingrained in a lot of designers at the company. So readability, responsiveness, clarity in motion, as Simone said, very important to us. Being able to pick up the controller and play. If you play the game, you see that you're able to play within a couple of minutes. We don't stop the player unnecessarily. We want them to play the game. And a big part of this is as well the replayability aspect. So the experiences are single player. It's not really a campaign-like structure, so it's important that the players are able to come back, replay the various sections of the game, play with different weapons, play with different tools, and keep finding the experience fresh. And recently with Returnal and SAROS, we have also adopted the roguelike framework, which supports a lot of the other pillars. Mikael already said this, but the goal is flow. And although this is not a talk about flow, it's good to briefly touch upon what it is. Mikael mentioned it's, you enter this state where everything kind of goes away. It's just you and the game. I personally really enjoy going into that state after a long, hard day at work, just relaxing with a video game. But I think my friend Brad Pitt can also explain it quite well.
Sometimes it's rare, but sometimes there's this moment in the car where everything goes quiet. My heartbeat slows. It's peaceful. And I can see everything. And no one can touch me. I'm chasing that moment every time I get in the car. I don't know when I'll find it again, but man, I want to. Because in that moment, I'm flying.
Yeah, it's the kind of moment I'm chasing when playing video games, and it's what I'm able to experience when playing SAROS. So about who the actual team is, we have only 4 level designers in-house at Housemarque, all of them very senior, experienced people. We do collaborate with some partners in the PlayStation family. So Nixes, a studio from the Netherlands. We worked with 3 level designers there. We have a feature team set up. So the team I was part of on SAROS was called the Gameplay World team. We had a producer, a programmer, a technical designer, and QA working with the level designers, and the focus was not only about creating the environments, but also the world generation that I will go briefly into later, and what we called the world systems, hazards, interactables, and so forth. The game has about 8 biomes, built out of 375 rooms. We use world generation to generate the biomes. We have some templates, and we have a couple of templates for the encounters. I mentioned the world systems: hazards, interactables, movables, destructibles. Economy in the world was also a responsibility for team, the onboarding and the wayfinding. We collaborate with other teams like the gameplay core, which is focused on the core experience. The world content team does all the pretty stuff. Narrative team and the so-called game tech team that supports the technical aspects of the generation and streaming. This is a cat. That's a trick I learned a month ago. Your presentation will be instantly better if you include a cat. So cats like SAROS, they like to watch it. It's very interesting. But okay, we don't have much time left, so just going into the philosophy a bit here. I really want to avoid the word randomness. We don't want to create a random experience, especially because we want to be true to the arcade purity of the experience we are creating. But we want to vary the experience because replayability is one of the pillars. So every biome has a recipe to generate how it will be composed from a couple of handcrafted levels. Then we have multiple interlocking systems like the enemies, artifacts, the hazards, and the weapons that can change from run to run. And of course, important lesson here is that it's not enough to vary things, but you have to vary it in a way that the player notices the difference. So not just simply moving a rock a bit, but the difference should be describable by everyone playing the biome. Besides varying the visual identity of the biomes, we also want to make sure that the gameplay identity is varied as well. Every biome has a slightly different structure. We are introducing new enemy families, new weapons, and making sure that beyond just swapping the visuals, we also make sure that the gameplay stays fresh, but we want to make sure that the experience is consistently engaging. And an important thing that we took very seriously from the start of the project is the so-called digestible runs. So spending from 15 to 30 minutes within a single biome, dying or succeeding, you should always be able to take something from it. Allows you to have a quick session after a long day at work, and it's easier to orchestrate the pacing because it's more manageable. This area is the area I'm most proud of, the work the team did here, because the encounters are designed by the level design team. Of course, we work with enemy designers, use their pieces, but a lot of iteration to make sure that we always introduce new threats, that we layer them, that we sustain pressure and make sure that the player is always having to prioritize and adapt. Movement is very critical. You have to keep moving around, otherwise you'll most likely die. And gameplay density also very, very important to us. So economy was very close to level design in terms of how often we place items, what are the meaningful choices that we are introducing, and making sure that the interactions are very quick. No one wants to stand around and, well, I don't want to stand around and read what's on the screen. I just want to be able to press the interact button and keep going. So very critical to us to iterate in this area. Yeah, sorry, I had to rush at the end. We are out of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for more Q&As for today, but I do want to say thank you, and if you want to mingle with the team of SAROS, be sure to catch them out on the exhibition floor. And also on Thursday, the sound director of SAROS will also be having a chat in the Galerian at 11 a.m. So if you want to know more about the music side of things, be sure to check it out.
No more questions here?
Unfortunately not. We have to wrap with time.
We'll be right outside the door
Exactly.
here, so you guys can come and say hi, and we'll take it on there.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And that's it for Nordic Game Day 1 2026, done and dusted. We started with sound, we went through accessibility, and then we ended with Housemarque. So I think that's a full day. Tomorrow is day 2, and we'll come back to this theatre at 10:55 with more sessions, more things that quietly change how you think about games, and obviously more fun. Tonight there's so many events happening. You can network, talk, vibe with everyone. Again, have fun, game saved, and see you tomorrow.